Stroke Awareness Day saw many of us supporting the Blue Glove initiative, where people gave a hand by wearing a single blue glove to serve as a reminder of what stroke survivors have to cope with every single day. We welcome back Liberty Head of Brand Strategy and Sponsorships, Marees Bostander, George Scholar from the Stroke Survivors Foundation, as well as stroke survivor Michelle Bell, to unpack this topic further. Now, strokes is something that affects South Africans quite a lot, and it is important for us to know what factors actually contribute to someone having a stroke. George, do you perhaps want to just touch on that for us?
The most common symptoms are hypertension, high blood pressure, stress, your lifestyle choices. So exercising, eating healthily, those are the symptoms that we all can adopt in order to prevent situations of stroke or heart attacks.
So what then would be the value of long-term insurance in the event of a stroke?
A life-changing event like a stroke can be quite traumatic, and it does require, finances to ensure that you get the best treatment possible that you need. And as much as insurance is a grudge purchase, it's very important. People need to ensure that they are covered should they experience an unfortunate event like a stroke, to give them a best chance of recovering, getting the best rehabilitation and support and care that they might need to continue to maintain their lifestyle.
A lot of people don't understand what goes into it. And Michelle, maybe you can help us in this point. How long was your recovery process after having the stroke? And how has your life been, basically? How has your life changed since experiencing the stroke?
The effect I had from the stroke was the lameness of my arm, and that came into full use within 24 hours. The long-term effect for the last 3 years has been short-term memory, which can be very frustrating, being a mum of two and a business partner, and day-to-day life can be challenging. I try to keep busy. I read to keep my brain functioning, and I do gym 3 to 4 times a week.
Wow, that's very important. Now, it seems like the most important thing then would be information. How then can people get in contact with you in terms of getting more info on the covers and the plans that you offer at Liberty?
You can get in touch with us on liberty.co.za, or just a useful Google search Liberty, and you'll be able to connect with us, and we will contact you to have those conversation, a very important conversation about your specific cover or insurance needs. And in addition to that, we would also like to get in touch with South Africans. We will be conducting free medical testing in partnership with Heart and Stroke Foundation, because it is very important for people to understand their risk profile. So numbers are important. So please come through, look out on social media. We will be communicating. Get your free testing for diabetes, hypertension, BMI, and cholesterol, so that you know what your numbers are to manage your risk for stroke.
That's great, because then that would be the first step in terms of knowing your numbers.
Absolutely.
And then, George, you now know your numbers, but now what are the important symptoms to identify if someone is going through a stroke, and what are the immediate causes of action at that moment?
There's a worldwide acronym, which is known as BFAST, and that pretty much breaks down the symptoms, shows the signs of a stroke. So the B is for balance. So if you're feeling unsteady, the E is for eyes. Your eyesight's blurry, or maybe you can't see. The F is for face. Now what that means is half your face will droop. So you'll see, and maybe you'll see it in my mouth, because half my tongue or my lip drops. So that's the sign. A is for arms. You ask the person to raise their arms, and it'll probably look like me, where one arm is easily raised, the other one lags a bit. S is for speech. So if somebody's slurring, that's a definite indicator. And then T, which is probably the most important, is that you've got a small window of between 3 and 4 hours to get to hospital in order for treatment to prevent the damage which is done to your brain.
So you showed me a trick earlier where you actually asked me to write my name using my left hand, and my left hand is the hand I use for everything. And you've now asked me to write with my right hand, just to, in essence, show people what happens to...
That's the entire point of the blue glove, is that it shows we get your not only sympathy but empathy, because now you're understanding the struggles that you're going through, and that's just to write your name. And that's what stroke survivors go through. That's a process of reteaching your brain, and then if you lose your strong side, you've got to adapt to your new conditions, and that could mean training up your weak side to take over.
And this is possibly the best representation of what you're saying, because I used my left hand here, which I was most comfortable with, and then I used my right hand, and I think the result is quite obvious. And as quickly
as it took you to write that, that's how quickly you could have a stroke.
Thank you so much for being here and allowing us to have this conversation with you. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your story, and thank you for allowing us the time to have this conversation with you. Liberty is sponsoring the Heart and Stroke Foundation and the Stroke Survivors Foundation as a commitment to ensuring that South Africans need not face these health issues alone. We are encouraged to utilize the resources provided to us by these foundations and to empower and educate ourselves with the right information on strokes.